Monster Hunter has always been garnered with respect when the monsters just keep coming. Over the series' 21-year history, the jaw-dropping moments always come from that very first encounter with a new monster, and sometimes when the fans have that craving for more monsters, they dig into the files themselves. Today, we talk about when fans might have gone too far, and we discuss what exactly is coming to Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds released with, in my opinion, one of the most unique casts of monsters we have seen in a game yet, with many beloved series classics alongside them. Of course, Rathian and Rathalos make their return, with Rathalos harboring a shiny new variant. Nurskilla, the orb-weaving giant, returns all the way from Monster Hunter 4. A new variant of Anjanath and Ebony Odogaron from Monster Hunter World has their own place in the story of Wilds. And with the first title update fully on its way, with a new hub area confirmed, the return of Mizutsune, whose last appearance was in Rise, and finally, a monster of formidable strength at a level above Tempered, fans have a lot to look forward to for Title Update 1. But if you're a bit too eager to wait another month, don't worry, some fans on Reddit got you covered, and I'm here to talk about it. We are getting into many leaks regarding new and returning monsters allegedly coming to Wilds, dating all the way back to even before the first open beta test. If speculation and data mine content spoilers is something you don't want to see, be warned right now before proceeding. But now, let's get into the meat. Mizutsune has been confirmed as the main star of the upcoming update, but it's interesting to note that leakers had speculated that it was going to return all the way back in August, with the Chinese leaks appearing online before the first open beta test. When that came around though, and leakers combed through all those files, the status effect of Bubble Blight and Severe Bubble Blight was found, which are a part of Mizutsune's signature attacks, further strengthening this claim. And now with official confirmation of its return from Capcom, we can vouch for the validity of the leaks. Of course, it's a bit too early to tell if Mizutsune is going to arrive in the update on its lonesome, but here's where leaks get more interesting. In the Chinese leaks on August 4th, other fan favorite monsters, not including Mizutsune, was said to make an appearance within the game. The one that puts the favorite and fan favorites is of course Zinogre. While the Chinese leaks have been completely accurate, the speculation surrounding Zinogre is a bit of a tricky one to navigate. He is surprisingly not in any of the files at all, not in the beta tests, the benchmark, nor the final game. The leaks did say that he wouldn't be around at launch, but even apart from this file absence, there is reasonable evidence for his return, one of them being his newest render for the 20th anniversary of the series. With small changes to his fur, tail, and head, this may be the model of Zinogre that will make its way to Wilds. And lastly, according to Reddit user Rose K-Day, which a lot of this video's information is based off of, so thank you kindly to them, an insider mentioned that Zinogre was in fully complete huntable state, but was removed to be repurposed as a title update later on, which tracks based off of what the leakers said. It kind of has to come back. And with the summer update's flagship monster not being confirmed, maybe he'll fill in that role. Moving on, two monsters with the biggest evidence of making an appearance yet aren't there yet are Seregios and Lagiacrus. Both of these monsters were mentioned in the August leaks, but unlike Zinogre, these guys have substantial evidence to suggest that they are going to make an appearance, and furthermore, were actually planned for the base game, and their pushback to a title update wasn't actually in the devs' minds. Starting with the Leviathan Lagiacrus, of course, we have photos of the new models and textures of its armor and 13 unique weapons here, and of course they show a striking resemblance to the monster's old gear from previous games. One of the biggest things regarding Lagiacrus is that both leakers and even normal players have found evidence of its nest being present in the Scarlet Forest at an inaccessible place, Zone 19. This was accessed by free camming past Area 12's waterfall in-game and in the title screen. And while it's still technically there while you're doing expeditions in the forest, it's blocked off by some boulders. There's the passageway leading into the big cavern and towards the nest, and there's the nest itself just chilling underneath the map, just completely isolated. Monster speculation aside, many fans latched onto the actual design of the area and compared it to the look of the deserted islands from the old games, a place that our buddy Lagiacrus absolutely loves to hang out. Apart from its ID being featured in the game and it being attributed to a quest, the director of the game, Yuya Takuda, mentioned how the fans have always wanted it brought back and how it's very special to him as its creator in an interview with IGN. So it's basically confirmed, right? Seregios shares a similar sentiment. Its ID is featured in the game and is attributed to a specific unused meal request that would help to get rid of the ailments it causes. series. It also features its brand new model of armor and 10 unique weapons, and more which are incomplete, within the files. And comparing it to Rise and older games, we can very much see that this is the Seregios set in the files for Wilds. Funnily enough, it also has its Palico armor leaked. Its new status resistances have been programmed into the game, but of course that is subject to change or can't really be compared to a previous game, as the way statuses are inflicted, coding wise, are likely very different. It is also assigned Icon 24, which exists between Rathalos with icon ID 23 and Gravios with icon ID 25. The final render for it doesn't quite exist, but the fact that this is here makes it seem like the decision to cut Seregios was made pretty late into Wild's development and strengthens the idea that they were originally planned for the base game. The absolutely insanely massive Elder Dragon, Gogmazios, has a mention in the game files, but specifically for Wild's benchmark tool. It didn't make an appearance in the August leaks nor the open beta, but code about him is included within the game. There was no appearance made by him in either World or Rise, so this must mean we're getting a brand new fight that hadn't been updated in roughly 12 years. If you don't know much about this guy, his whole shtick was being covered in a sticky tar-like substance all over his body, which he used to incapacitate hunters and prey alike. The interesting thing about this is that the unused status effect heavy_oil, the Japanese name for the status effect was tarred. This was in the game's status list all the way back in the open beta test, meaning that this guy was planned for quite a decent amount of time. Not quite nearly as much as the aforementioned Lagiacrus or Seregios, but still a foot in the door. Seeing as we have a whole new area dedicated to oil, it's a wonder that the US hasn't taken this oil. I mean, it's no wonder that we're likely getting its return. There isn't much information about him, unfortunately, but there's a very good chance that he's returning. Shagaru Magala, the adult form of Gore Magala, was mentioned all the way back in August, when the Chinese leaker was asked if it would make an appearance in the game, to which they responded by saying it would be a spoiler if he answered. To our surprise though, he had absolutely no appearance in the game, and furthermore, not even a single mention in any of the code. Gore Magala also doesn't shed gold when you break its parts anymore, which in previous games indicated that Shagaru Magala was coming. Apart from the vague mentions by the leaker, there is no evidence that it will ever come to the game. Sorry, Shagaru Magala fans, this one isn't coming for a while at the very least. You don't need me to mention, spoiler alert for the final boss of low rank. If you don't want to see him, don't watch this. Anyways, the community was pretty damn upset with the lack of content surrounding Zosia. It was a great fight, but everything around it was just kind of lame. You literally cannot fight it outside of that quest, and it had no gear at all, which even Guardian Arkfeld had, despite it using parts that weren't really unique to its respective fight. Two unused and very interesting looking things in the files, however, are a reflective white greatsword and switch axe model that can't really be attributed to any other monster, especially looks wise. Numerically, they exist after Jin Dahad's and Shu Wu's weapons, and exist right before high rank Arkfeld's. There exists a status effect named last_boss, which doesn't actually get inflicted upon players by Zosia, nor any other monster naturally. The Chinese leaker also mentioned that Zosia had some very interesting things to do with meteors, and again, we straight up just do not see this in the game. But there is a lot of evidence pointing towards it existing in the code found both from the open beta test and the benchmark. This page is obviously Google translated and has a lot of information about the ecosystems and how they work around it in the game. One speculation is that this was the original idea for the wilt crystals that erupt from the ground and instead were created and left there in the environment by Zosia itself. Considering some of the evidence, it may be safe not to completely write it off as never going to show up, as there's just no way that this is all we have left to see of Zosia, but we really don't know at this point. And finally, the previously quoted level above tempered has been very much speculated to be arch-tempered creatures. Aside from the tweet from Capcom themselves vaguely mentioning a new difficulty for monsters being added to the game title, there is a few more pieces of evidence to suggest this. In the open beta test, it was found that there was a name called Legendary King, and since tempered, it's internally called Legendary. This may then imply the extra layer of sauce to the name as arch-tempered. There are also 5 unused sets in the game that seemingly refer to arch-tempered. This is because the coloring for sets are aptly named Type 02 for the alpha sets, Type 03 for beta sets, and there is an unused coloring with Type 04 attribute which may refer to potential gamma sets, typically a combination of alpha and beta that exists in previous games. As with tempered monsters having a purplish outline, there exists code that may be for the next difficulty of monsters, as it has a red outline around the monster icons. Please note that this effect was purely for demonstration purposes, and a potential arch-tempered Zosia is not actually in the game. Rose Kade mentions that during the pre-release cycle, people were mentioning that between Hunter rank 60 to 80, that would be the threshold to access the new difficulty of creatures and new versions of the Apex monsters. Nothing hardcore confirmed though, so we'll just have to wait and see in another month. And just like that, that was all of the main monster leaks surrounding future title updates coming to Monster Hunter Wilds. Again, this is all speculation, and unless it has been 100% confirmed by the devs, everything is subject to change. No matter how present it may appear to be making an arrival, are you excited for the future content coming to the game? And what do you want to see make a return? Let me know in the comments, because my name is Evan, and hopefully I explained that pretty well. I'll see you later.